Hey, this is Soldier7 here reporting for Right Wing Federation, and this video is going to be about Fight Oligarchy. What's that? Well, as you know, recently, those like A.O.C and Bernie Sanders have been going around the country with this tour so-called Fight Oligarchy. Now the question is what oligarchy? Fight what oligarchy? Is it important to fight oligarchy? Yes, but in their case, what oligarchy? Because even though I haven't seen all of them, all of the speeches and whatnot, but the clips that I've seen, they usually intend to talk about, like, the rich and whatnot and how they're evil and whatnot. But that just doesn't make any sense. Because for, like, example, Bernie Sanders and AOC, they talk about how the rich are bad and whatnot, but yet they're rich themselves, if I'm not mistaken. Bernie Sanders owns multiple homes and he gets donations from sugar companies, and if I'm not mistaken, he also got support from Ben & Jerry, the ice cream brand. And not only that, AOC has been hanging out at the Gala Awards, if I'm not mistaken, if that's how it's pronounced, Gala, and she even wore a dress saying tax the rich. Now the whole point is does this make any sense to you? Because I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Because these two people, and I know they're not the only ones, are going around the country making these speeches called Fight Oligarchy and whatnot, but how do we know that they're not part of any oligarchy? How do we know that they're not some type of oligarchy or getting support from one? Now, yeah, am I for oligarchy? Absolutely not. Am I critical of it? Yes. But at the same time, how do we know that this isn't some kind of a leftist oligarchy that's supporting them, for all we know? Because let's think about it. A lot of the times we always hear people like politicians and whatnot, or celebrities and whatnot, who talk about how bad capitalism is and how bad the rich is, yet many of them are rich themselves. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And I know I've talked about this before, but it just doesn't make any sense. Why would they criticize the rich when many of them are rich themselves, or have connections to rich people, or friends with rich people, even if not all of them are? I can't speak for A.O.C. for standards, but I figured hanging at the Gala Institute, or whatever you want to call it, and having a dress, an expensive dress saying tax the rich and whatnot, I don't know, aren't those the same kind of people she's criticizing? I don't know. My guess would be yes, so what was the point in all that? If she's so against the rich and the oligarchy or the capitalist system and whatnot, then why was she doing hanging out there? And on top of that, recently, I know that Bernie Sanders makes an appearance at Coachella, I don't know, the music festival. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a festival where a lot of famous musicians that are rich and whatnot, perform and whatnot. I can't speak who was there and who wasn't, because for the most part, that's not my kind of music. They don't intend to play a lot of rock bands or whatnot, so I can't say for sure. But I do know about what the festival is. I don't know if that's the best way to pronounce it, but that's how it is, Coachella. And I noticed that it's a pretty expensive gig, so that's just this whole question. What is this whole tour called Fight Oligarchy all about? Is it just about them going around saying how the rich are evil, yet they're rich themselves, or they're getting money from rich people to act this way? I don't know. Now, yeah, do they have the right to do that? Sure. Yes, they do. But I also think it's important, what if they believe in this or not, it's important to call them out on it, because we see what they do all the time when they talk about how bad the rich people are, yet they're rich themselves or have connections to rich people. So, yeah. And yeah, so this whole fight oligarchy thing, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm not trying to go on a ramble or anything. I'm not trying to make this too long, but it's just I don't get it, because like when I look at, even though I haven't seen all of the speeches, but when I've looked at some of the speeches, when I looked at some of the clips, they usually say the same things. They're just like, how capitalism's bad, how the rich are bad, and this and that, whatnot. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense, because, as I said before, a lot of these people who talk about how bad the rich are either rich themselves or they have ties to rich people, as we do in the case of A.O.C and Bernie Sanders. Because we all know that these people at one point either were rich or still rich or have ties to rich friends or whatnot, especially in Hollywood, because, it seems like the majority of Hollywood intends to endorse leftist politicians for some reason. So why go out and say all that stuff? I don't know. But yeah, I'm not trying to like go on for too long, but I just can't help it, because I hear this all the time. Like all these like leftist politicians and even some of these leftist celebrities come out and say, "Oh, how capitalism's evil, how the rich are evil, and what they're doing is evil," and this and that. Yet they're all rich themselves. They have connections to rich people of some sorts. I know I keep saying that, and I'm sorry, but I just don't get it. Why do they keep doing this? I don't get it. Now, if you have any opinions, please do tell. I do have some ideas why. Maybe because the reason why they're against free market capitalism is because they probably favor corporatism or a socialist oligarchy of some sorts, where certain rich people are allowed to do whatever, but others aren't. Because, like I said, some rich people are some of the biggest anti-capitalists in the globe, because they don't want to worry about competition. They don't want to worry about competing with other businesses. They want to support laws that'll weep out the competition, but not weep out them. So I think that's one way of looking at it. And for all we know, those are the kind of people like A.O.C and Bernie Sanders are supporting, if they really don't believe in what they believe, which I think chances are they probably don't. But anyway, yeah, what's your take on it? Please do tell. The comments are open, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for right now. This is Soldier 7. Thanks for listening.